In Florida just made some really huge moves. The Florida Supreme Court just body slammed the Attorney General in the state, Ashley Moody, by allowing the marijuana legalization initiative to appear on the November ballot this year, letting voters decide for themselves if they want recreational marijuana, just like in Ohio. Now, the state's Attorney General, Ashley Moody, went up to the Supreme Court and she directly asked them to say no to this, siding with DeSantis, who was going around saying this whole thing, it's way too radical and the whole state is just going to smell like weed. For some reason, that's his only argument. I don't know why. But instead, the court sided with the marijuana advocates and allowed the initiative to go on the November ballot, giving it the green light to do so. But Moody, the Attorney General, Ashley Moody, kept trying to argue that Florida voters were too stupid to realize that if they voted for legal cannabis, that they wouldn't realize that it is still illegal nationally under the federal law. And she was saying that it wasn't clear. It didn't specifically say illegal. Now, Smart and Safe Florida, kind of the guys that are heading this legalization push, came in and said, I quote, "It strains credulity well past the breaking point to think that the average voter is unaware that marijuana will still be illegal at the federal level." I'm kind of agreeing with this, guys. But Moody just comes back and says, well, I don't know, most Americans can't name a single Supreme Court justice, as though that's some indication of their voters' inability to understand marijuana laws. Don't know where they're going with that. Now, Truly, one of the larger cannabis dispensaries that operates in Florida, is and who's running the show on this ballot initiative here. They donated over $40 million to get this thing going, and that's been most of their budget, if I'm being honest. And if the ballot legalizes, it'll set them up to be the biggest and the baddest dispensary in the state. And check out our story on Florida and the marijuana initiative on the ballot if you want to hear more about the monopolistic tendencies there or what's actually in that ballot. Definitely a good story there. So I will give Ashley Moody the benefit of the doubt here. She is actually worried about a monopoly. And that's kind of what Trulieve is setting up here. Quote, she said, "It'll entrench the sponsor's monopolistic stranglehold on the marijuana market to the detriment of Floridians." Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think she's actually looking out for the Florida voter here, I think she's actually trying to cancel marijuana in the state. But she is kind of right. A monopoly is bad for the customer, and that's kind of what Trulieve is doing here. They have more locations than anybody else in the state, so if it gets voted in, they'll be able to jump directly into recreational sales while also doing medical marijuana sales. So that'll give them a huge leg up compared to the mom and pop entrepreneurs, the small business people that'll have to start up from scratch and expand from there. And if it is legalized, in the words of the ballot, there will also be no home grow allowed. And guys, I'm throwing a flag on the play. That's a huge one for me. I do not like that. That's a red flag. If a company has a corner on the market and they don't allow home grow, it's not far from Floridians having to go to the company store to get their weed. That is a monopoly, and I don't like it. So if Moody actually went on more about that, focused on that, I might give her a little more credence, but she doesn't. She just goes around saying that voters will be able to walk around with pounds and pounds of marijuana on them at all times, like 24 other states haven't gone through this already. Come on, man. So obviously the courts disagreed with her, and they said the voters are going to decide for themselves whether the fate of medical or recreational cannabis in the state. So activists have got all the signatures they need to get this ballot or the initiative on the ballot, and the court was the last line for opponents to overturn the will of their dumb voters and get this thing out of the way. All the court really had to decide was the wording of the ballot clear, and did it violate the Florida state constitution? Both of those boxes were checked, so on the ballot it goes. They said, "We therefore approve the proposed amendment for placement on the ballot. No rehearing will be permitted." Funny, almost like they knew opponents of marijuana were just going to keep chucking rocks at the House for as long as they possibly could.